Good afternoon, folks. Welcome back to the Philosophy for Philistines channel with your host, Bill Reimer. Today I'm going to ask a rhetorical question of you and then attempt to solve, or to answer rather, my own question. Someone must help me with the following conundrum. Where did the idea originate that if we have a problem that the government ought to solve it? This belief invariably results in creating a far greater problem than the one the government allegedly intended to solve. Why is it that I so seldom hear I want the government to get the hell out of my life? I prefer to solve my own problems. Thank you very much. Despite the overwhelming evidence of the failure of the state-mandated solutions, people still refuse to act as autonomous agents of self-determination. I'm a classical liberal in the English sense, and as such I am of the opinion that I have no right or expertise to tell others how to live, which is why I believe in the free market of production, sales, resource distribution, and most of all, ideas. It is historically provable that free markets and open competition without state interference outperform all other economic and philosophical systems. But now I will attempt to answer my own rhetorical question regarding why folks still believe the state is capable of solving problems that it most likely helped to create. The reason the left demands managed and controlled markets, which include the free market of ideas, is due to their attachment to a mechanistic view of the world. They have rejected the gestalt which can only occur in the right hemisphere of our brains, where the perception of the world around us is living, vibrant, and ever-changing, while imbuing life with meaning. It is the right brain which is responsible for creativity, and as importantly, our intuition, which is why the postmodern left claims that their opponents are conspiracy theorists, even though the weight of evidence proves their mechanistic view of the world is unrealistic. It is also why the left thinks that they can control everything around them, including people, the economy, resource distribution, and the environment. These delusions are the direct result of a right brain deficit disorder shared by collectivist societies which have rejected individualism. And I ain't about to go Borg. Resistance is never futile. Resisting evil and pursuing higher good is, or at least ought to be, the most vital and important of all human endeavors. But let us examine why such a mechanistic worldview is unscientific. Newtonian physics provided mankind with a very certain and mechanistic model for how the world operates. 19th century man became convinced that science would soon explain all the mysteries of how the universe functioned. But then came a discovery that soon upset the apple cart, namely quantum mechanics. Quantum mechanics, and here I begin a quote, and I'll put the link to my quote below it. So you'll find all this in the notes attached to my podcast. Quantum mechanics formulation started in the early 1900s and caught the eye of physicists around the world, with more and more acceptability being given to it. The Copenhagen interpretation by Niels Bohr and Heisenberg in 1925 to 27 is the widely accepted form of quantum mechanics. It has changed the very nature of physics, and it has radically changed our understanding of the universe and our place in it. Quantum mechanics ushered in the era of the participatory universe, where the observer, the observed, and the act of observation are all interlinked. This shattered the ideas of classical physics, where an independent observer can observe the universe independently and understand it. According to quantum mechanics, the observer is affecting the universe by the mere act of observation and affects not only the present but the past as well, thereby changing our notion of the linearity of time. So we can no longer think of the universe from the point of view of independent observation. It is not independent. Each part of the universe is connected to each other, and we are not independent observers. Rather, we shape the universe by our observation and action. And the link is below this quote. And I begin with my own thoughts. Furthermore, quantum mechanics demands imagination, something that the left brain, which behaves as a high-functioning bureaucrat, simply cannot grasp. Engels and Marx's theory was the result of a completely mechanistic left-brain view of the world, indicative of the 19th century in which they lived. It also relies on the idea that human beings are born into this world as tabula rasa, blank slates, who therefore may have anything written on them. The radical left believes that all human behavior, beliefs, mores, morals, and culture are mere social constructs which may be altered at will via social engineering. These ideas have proven to be false on several fronts, partly as a result of work done in evolutionary psychology, Jungian psychology, and certainly in physics, where quantum mechanics have scientifically demonstrated the shortcomings of Newtonian physics. The greatest scientific discoveries resulted from imagining first, then testing the hypotheses for validity, while a left brain view of the world demands certainty. Phrases like the science is settled, climate change deniers, and conspiracy theories are used to negate the officially sanctioned narrative. Language itself must be made subordinate to this postmodern, left-brain, mechanistic view of the world. A mechanistic view outdated 107 years ago, when Einstein developed his theory of relativity. Out of necessity, the postmodern left ideology demands certainty. They exist in a world which cannot abide contradiction, a world dedicated to the scientism I spoke about in my previous podcast, which has replaced actual science. They exist in a world intolerant of all the apparent inconsistencies we now know to be an inherent part of the study of quantum physics. But before I wade into these waters deeper than a man of my limited expertise in fields of human psychology, quantum physics, and philosophy ought to, allow me to point you toward Dr. Ian McGilchrist. His explanation of why our current cultural zeitgeist has become so soul-crushing and toxic has been nothing short of revelatory for me. McGilchrist has written what I consider to be the most brilliant, significant work of its kind, The Matter with Things, Our Brains, Our Delusions, and the Unmaking of the World. The link where you can buy this book is again in the notes to my podcast. That was published on the 9th of November 2021. Dr. McGilchrist stated, "I believe that our vision has been hijacked by a brain system that evolved merely in order to help us manipulate the world, not to understand it. Which is why I am convinced that the phenomenon he describes in The Matter with Things has become the defining feature of the postmodern academy and our current political landscape." I invite you to watch the following 3-part series I've posted below here, featuring Dr. McGilchrist with world-renowned comic writer and actor John Cleese of Monty Python fame, at the following links. Enjoy them as I did, and let us reawaken ourselves to a fuller, richer world where there is real diversity of thought and open inquiry, so that we may rid ourselves of this dreadful, mechanistic view of human existence. God bless you all. There's something to read and think and pray about. You have a wonderful week.